Every time she goes, "Don't tell lies about me. It's my job." She doesn't wear any panties. Oh, that's so bad. I hope none of her friends are here. Anybody from her book club in here? So I heard them talking one time. They don't wear panties when they do their book club. Not sure, why they do that. I've never understood the matriarchy. I had images running through. And for those of you who've never been to a performance of mine, I'm not that kind of writer. I'm also not that Indian you were expecting. George Mikan was the best basketball donkey that Carter and Sons had ever owned. You could train any donkey to let any human ride it randomly around a basketball court, but George Mikan, named for the bespectacled giant who played pro ball in the 50s, had an affinity for the game. He always trotted directly toward the hoop, regardless of the dexterity, intelligence, or size of the person he was carrying. Emory Carter Jr., mostly known as Deuce, was convinced that George Mikan would have shot the ball if he had opposable thumbs. But Emory Carter Sr., mostly known as Emory, scoffed at the idea. "Donkeys only got 3 talents," Emory said. "Fucking braying and shitting." "What about basketball?" Deuce asked. For donkeys, everything is fucking braying and shitting, including basketball." Deuce wanted to tell his father that all human activity is also about fucking braying and shitting. But he knew his father wouldn't appreciate the joke. His father wasn't dumb, but he lived in a world that did not include metaphors. There comes a time in every son's life when he thinks he is smarter than his father. But the truth is that fathers and sons are mostly equal in intelligence. Geniuses beget geniuses, and idiots beget idiots. And yet there also comes a time in a few sons' lives when it can be proven beyond any doubt that they are very much smarter than their fathers. So yes, Deuce was the Socrates of the Carter clan. But even Deuce knew that wasn't saying much. Because the Carter clan currently consisted of himself, the elder Emory, and 12 donkeys. Emory Sr. and Emory Jr. were the president and vice president of Carter and Sons, one of the 2 donkey basketball outfits in the Pacific Northwest and one of only 10 still operating in the United States. Founded by Edgar Carter in the days after he had come limping home from World War II, it had for over 4 decades provided solid middle-class employment for Edgar, his wife Eileen, and their 3 sons, Edgar Jr., Edward, and Emory. The 50s through the early 80s were the glory days of donkey basketball. Every weekend, the Carters and their donkeys traveled to high schools in Washington, Oregon, and Idaho and split the gate proceeds 50-50 with the sponsoring organizations. Once in a while, they even found games in Utah, Northern California, Nevada, and Western Montana. Donkey basketball was popular. Donkey basketball helped high schools raise money for new football uniforms, or new trumpets for the band, or typewriters for the business classes. Donkey basketball helped the Masons and Elks raise money for college scholarships, or to give toys to 4 kids at Christmas, or to help a war widow fix the roof on her house. Donkey basketball wasn't just profitable. It was socially responsible. It was good Christian work. And the Carters happened to be the most dedicated outfit with the most friendly humans and donkeys. Then came the late 80s, and the concept, the romantic poetry of basketball was soon viewed in the same way as slaughtering pigs or injecting hepatitis into lab rats or cutting open the skulls of live monkeys and studying their working brains. It wasn't fair. The Carters loved their donkeys. They fed and bathed the donkeys. The Carters as a family midwifed the birth of at least 100 donkey babies. Their donkeys weren't just pets, and they weren't just money-making employees. They were family. By 1991, Carter and Sons went Chapter 11 bankrupt. Edgar and Eileen, married for 50 years, died within days of each other. The older boys, Edgar Jr. and Edward, went looking for work in Alaska and never came back. So that left only Emery to care for a barn full of unemployable donkeys and to try and save the family business. And he'd been saving it for 20 years, gaining and losing 2 wives in the process, but hanging on to a son, a namesake, who also was his best friend. After dragging the company out of bankruptcy, Emery and Deuce somehow made enough money each year to feed the donkeys and themselves and to pay for the gas to make it to the various towns that still welcome donkey basketball. And once in a while, they had enough cash to rent a motel rather than sleeping in the truck or driving for hours to get back home or to the next game. Though Emery considered himself a Truman Democrat, he discovered that 99% of donkey basketball fans were now Republicans and/or reservation Indians. He figured Indians love basketball and animals in equal measure. And he knew that res people loved to laugh, but he didn't understand why donkey basketball had suddenly become a nearly exclusive Republican tradition. He decided not to care. Money was money, after all, and his donkeys didn't give a shit about liberal versus conservative battles, so Emery decided not to care either. If Emery had thought to own a motto or to issue a mission statement, it would have been, donkeys love everybody. And it was true for his donkeys. They did love everybody, and Emery loved everybody too. He was, in an old-fashioned way, a very decent man. One might have thought to call him chivalrous if that word wasn't loaded with a history of pistol bullets. But Deuce